on this story, let's bring in Sigurd Neubauer, who is an expert on the Gulf cooperation and an author of The Gulf Region and Israel: Old Struggles, New Alliances. Sigurd, thank you so much for coming on to chat to us today. You're joining us there, I understand, from DC. Firstly, shed a bit of light on this for us, and what more is there to know?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I think that we should just emphasize right from the outset that there have been some underlying tensions in the Emirati-Israel relationship, despite all the positive coverage that we have seen in the media about people-to-people engagement. And I think that some of the tensions that we're seeing between the two countries are directly tied to a new U.S. approach, which is to say that President Biden has made clear that restarting the peace process for Yemen is a top priority. And what we saw is that during the Trump administration, there were three countries that essentially had an open door to the White House. One of them was the UAE, the other one was Saudi Arabia and Israel. That is no longer the case. And it was these dynamics that set the stage for the Emirati-Israel breakthrough. And I think that the new U.S. direction, coupled with uncertainty over whether or not the United States will provide UAE with the F-35 jet, has been an ongoing tension between the two countries for some time. And I think that that's the underlying message that the Emiratis are sending to the Israelis, of course, accusing Netanyahu of interfering in their politics for his own political purposes. But I think that that's not the real message here.
Okay, so does this mean that Netanyahu's largely being cut off for the time being?
I don't think Netanyahu is being cut off at all. I think that Prime Minister Netanyahu, and you're an expert on this, of course, he does not face a lot of competition in the Israeli politics. However the Israeli political election will play out, there is a likelihood that he will be reelected, and the relationship with the UAE will be back on track. And the Emiratis knows that, of course. But the issue of the F-35 is an issue that the Americans are presiding over, and this is the message that the Emiratis are sending to Israel in a backhanded way.
Okay, so Sigurd, I know also there's been a lot of fuss about this $10 billion investment from the Emirates into Israel, that announcement coming a week or so ago. Tell me, could this be in jeopardy at all?
Well, the way that Gulf culture is a little different than Israeli culture and Western culture. There are a lot of pledges, and in the Gulf context, when a pledge is made, that doesn't necessarily mean that it is ready to be signed into an agreement. So I think that it could be understood as aspirational as opposed to a concrete offer that was made.
So going forward, how do you see this sort of potentially affecting any future normalization agreements, if at all?
Well, I think that all the GCC countries are watching closely and want the Emirati-Israel relationship to be successful. But any diplomatic relationship between an Arab state and Israel is going to be sensitive for all the reasons that you know, but also for another reason that we need to keep in mind, and that is that Israel is a very vibrant and loud democracy. It's not for the faint-hearted, whereas in the Gulf, these are autocratic countries where the media is highly regulated. And so there's going to be a little bit a step forward and two steps backwards as these normalization processes between Israel and the Gulf states take place. So I don't think that this is something out of the ordinary.
All right. Sigurd Neubauer there joining us from DC. It's been wonderful to talk to you, and have a fantastic weekend.
You do the same. Thank you.
Thank you.